What's your biggest dream? What would happen if you lived your biggest dream? I lived mine. It was to have a brick and mortar retail shop with a creative space. My vision was inspired by a book that I had read many years ago called The Red Tent. Now, in the book, during biblical times, when women were giving birth, or they were sick, or they had their period, other women from the village would come in and take care of them. That idea was so beautiful to me. No matter what was happening on the outside of the tent, when you came inside, you were cared for and nurtured. Can you imagine having support like that today? Well, I wanted to create a space just like that. So, along with a friend from my village, that's what we did. We created The Collective. It was a retail boutique with a creative workshop space where you could find the perfect gift or sip and paint with friends. Now, over 80% of the goods in the store were woman-owned brands, products that gave back to good causes, veterans, women, children. We held space for businesses that didn't have a brick and mortar so they could expand their reach. And our customers believed in our purpose and were very intentional about wanting to support this type of business. In our creative workshop space, fondly called the Makery, in a bakery you bake, and in a makery you make. It's where people tapped into their creativity, learned a new skill, tapped into that childlike wonder. Many amateur artists were born here and friendships forged. So here we had this beautiful, inspired retail and creative space, and at the heart of it was the Peony Lounge, named fondly in honor of my grandmother and her love of peonies. When I was a little girl, I would dip them in water and watch the ants scurry about. One day, a friend who was a fifth-generation resident of Lisle said, "Why do you call this room the Peony Lounge?" And I explained the story of my grandmother. And you know what she told me? The strip mall that was across the street from the shop, that separated the shop from where my grandmother was buried, was once a peony farm. How perfect was that? And how perfect that the next year, a peony bush would appear in my front yard. Now, from the public eye, we were thriving. We were acknowledged in magazines. We won Best New Gift Shop from Oak Park to Geneva. Our social media was on fire. We had these quirky little videos behind the counter. We were a dynamic duo. Fast forward, it's year 3. It's the beginning of the changing of the tides, and it's spring 2020, when the proverbial mortar began to crumble between the bricks. COVID hit, and my business partner left our partnership. Now, how anyone could deny themselves the pleasure of my company on a daily basis is beyond me. But she didn't want to be business partners anymore, and the whole thing got really, really, really messy, which is what happens when things fall apart. But as a widow with kids in school, I didn't have the option to walk away. I had invested my savings in this business. So in order to keep it going, I had to agree to assume all of the debt, which is a very large sum of money. We don't talk about it. For the next 3 years, I ran the business solo. And each day, I made it more and more of my own. Changed the product offerings, got a new logo, put a fancy sign up on the wall. And I was leading the workshops. I'm going to tell you, it was a labor of love. I worked 6 to 7 days a week, 12 to 14-hour days. I sacrificed time with family, friends, self-care, gained a lot of weight. But in all that, the good was still outweighing the bad. My red tent became home to some wonderful people who have become life friends to me and who would volunteer their time to help me and make sure I didn't miss important things like my son's first college football game or my granddaughter's first birthday. People were so intentional during COVID. They wanted to save small businesses, and I appreciated that so much. But after COVID, the numbers began to drop. I pivoted. The parking lot across the street was closed. I pivoted. And then more and more shoppers found convenience in online shopping. And I pivoted. And I truly was just in survival mode. And I kept thinking to myself, dear God, why did you get me this far to only get me this far? I don't get it. See, I was always taught that if you just work harder, you'll succeed. I wanted to teach my children that if you give something 150%, you will get back more. That your dreams can come true. But truth is, I was bleeding out. And I could not continue to put good money on bad, and really there was no more good money left. And I had to make the heartbreaking decision to close the business. And like a death, I was grieving. And as my tent began to come down, I witnessed the beautiful magic of it. Women came in from all over Bartlett, Frankfurt, Chicago, Mokina to say goodbye to me, yes, but also to the store. See, this space had created such a bond for them that they had to pay it one more visit. They came in to say goodbye, to offer warm hugs through teary eyes, and they would share their stories. Like the woman who was suffering from postpartum depression and coming into the store just made her feel lighter. Or the women who were battling cancer who felt safe coming in and shopping in my space with me. Or the young gal who worked for me who changed her college major from engineering to marketing, much to the chagrin of her parents, but is thriving in her marketing career today. It was more than a store. It was a special place of creation and care. And in some ways, the store had a soul of its very own. Even as I was packing boxes and selling off display pieces and saying goodbye, I would still ponder, where did I go wrong? Why did it not work? Dear God, why? And then one day, it finally hit me. The store had served its purpose. It had done its job. It just wasn't supposed to be this grand big moneymaker. And all those times that I kept questioning God, why did you bring me so far to only bring me so far? Surviving COVID, surviving a business severance. He was telling me, I just kept pivoting. He was telling me, girl, your work is done. I just wasn't listening. I'm stubborn like that. And although painful, I came to accept the end of this part of my journey, and then I realized that I had fulfilled a purpose. I was there at the right time for the right people for the right reasons. This space had become its own red tent. And there was no ugliness. No. See, you were either nice, you became nice, or you left. I didn't print money. But what I did do was create a wealth of experiences, a wealth of love, a wealth of nurturing. My gift to you in sharing this story is that go ahead, pursue that big dream, but also understand that you can give something 150%, and it doesn't mean it's going to work the way you want it to. And that's okay. There's something else for you. When the time that you spend somewhere ends, whether it's the relationship, the job you were in, whatever that may be, sometimes we may not even understand it right away, but you did your job, and I did mine. Oh, as you can see, I still cry. It hurt me when I picked up my sign a few weeks ago that was finally taken down for the new tenant pursuing their dream. I tear up looking through social media pictures, and I miss my red tent at 4724 Main Street. But then I remember tents are made to move, and I am pitching tents everywhere I go.